Thank you, Mr. President. As I listen to the Honorable Minister in the Ministry of Agriculture read his presentation, I remember that predial larceny is also one of the crimes that's on the increase, and clearly his contribution may have been stolen before he came here today, because that contribution there added no substance to this debate whatsoever. He was clearly unprepared and underprepared. In other words, he was a bit force-ripe, so I won't be too harsh on my honorable colleague over there. He mentioned that the government foots the flood bill, but Honorable Minister, the government is responsible for flooding by not dredging the river mouths, by not clearing the drains, by not producing box drains, by not ensuring that our infrastructure is in a suitable, ready condition to serve the population. So if anyone should foot the bill, it should be the PNM who's responsible for the flooding. The Honorable Minister clearly, as he said, he is very young. He was excited to pay his land and building taxes, because to be a member of the PNM and to come into the Senate and mention the word corruption, I would let him know to go and research and read about Tesoro, Lock Joint, Caroni Racing Complex, Project Pride, Financial Complex, Mount Hope, Churchill Roosevelt Highway, Taruba Stadium, go Napa and Sapa. Go, if you want to read corruption, go in Balisay House, where the air conditioner has just been put in by donations, and you will learn a lot about corruption. So it was very interesting. You want to hear some more? You could talk about in Tobago, my brother from Tobago, Milsherv, Scarborough Hospital, Buku, Goat Racing Complex for 100 million, fake oil, Petrotrain, Bridgemans, NGC right now, CCTV, Central Block, Mosquito Crack, all of that going on now. So please, we came to debate here the valuation, an act to amend the Valuation of Land Act in order for the PNM to oppress the people further, to implement property tax. And that in itself shows the heartlessness, the oppressive nature of a PNM government who cares not about the people whatsoever. It really struck me as a member of the People's National Movement would actually speak about Caroni 1975 Limited after this PNM government in 2004 with a former minister shut down Caroni. And in the same breath, the Honorable Minister mentioned Caroni 1975 Limited and celebrating Indian Arrival Day, when the shutdown of Caroni 1975 Limited brought more pain and decimation of the East Indian communities in the central of Trinidad and Tobago than ever before, that they're still feeling up to today. But to come here today and talk that, I think my young brother should take time and prepare much better before coming to debate. He then went on that without reliance on central government, this was a key point, and it was not only made by the Honorable Minister, it was made by the Minister of Finance also. They are touting this oppressive tax at this time after they have shattered the economy, and they are saying that somehow this property tax is going to be the cure for the panacea for local government funding. And the Honorable Minister actually said that now with this property tax, that there will have to be no reliance on central government. Honorable Minister, you are the central government. You don't want people to rely on you. You have just come in the Senate and confessed that you do not and are unable to deal with people at a ground level. The central government is the PNM. Listen, without a local government reform, for those who do not understand, the current system, cabinet system, Westminster system, first past the post, the Honorable Prime Minister will select his cabinet, of which one of those ministers will be the Honorable Minister of Local Government. This minister is charged with the responsibility to go to the cabinet with a cabinet note after consultation with the 14 corporations, seeing their budgets, what they would like, and making their requests. This minister is then charged with the responsibility to go in the cabinet and fight for resources for the corporations, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. For the minister to come and say that the central government has not supported people and there should be no reliance on the central government is a confession of incompetence, and the PNM must go. Because to come here now and say that with local government reform and the property tax that the money will go directly into the coffers of the corporations and therefore people will get service means that the government has not, will not, and shall continue not to support local government corporations, and local government councillors. This is why you can have an honorable Prime Minister who is also a member of Parliament for Diego Martin West, in which all three of the Diego Martins belong to the PNM. In fact, the acting Prime Minister once told me in a different place that he did not even bother to campaign and he got 10,650 votes. The PNM is also in control of the Diego Martin Corporation, and you have a Prime Minister criticizing the corporation and saying that he as Prime Minister had to fix his own drain because his Diego Martin Corporation, with Diego Martin chairman, with Diego Martin councillors, with 3 Diego Martin MPs, was unable to solve any problem and provide resources. The problem is not the Constitution. It is not local government ministry. It is not the people. The problem is the PNM. They're talking to the people. I talking to the people because I know that simple majority, my honorable colleagues on that side, they have already made up their mind. They're not interested in any debate. So it's okay. They have to do what they have to do. The people will deal with them as soon as the election call. But I would talk to the people because they told us, and I heard that message loud and clear a few years ago, that the PNM will be in our face, in the faces of the population, like a jumbie from Lekoto. Well, let me tell you something. Jumbie and all that's dead. So very shortly, call the election and we will get rid of the PNM jumbie. The Honorable Minister of Finance said 50% of all land in any categories would mean that the valuation rules are finished. And therefore, within 14 days, and clause 5, property tax could be implemented. Hold this phone there, it's disturbing me, yes. I want my colleagues to hear me carefully. Imagine this government did not come here to present, to get our Senate ready. You have staff. They have money, you have to make food, they have to prepare all of the order papers, you have people there to take Hansard, you have audio people, it's very expensive. Imagine the PNM put together a whole sitting of the Senate to come and make a shortcut to tax people. Why you didn't come and make a shortcut to keep people safe? Why you didn't make a shortcut to fix road better? Why you didn't make a shortcut to make sure people could turn on water in the tap? Why you didn't make a shortcut to come and create jobs? Why you didn't make a shortcut to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago? All you come to bring a shortcut to go dip in people's pocket to take all the money that you done waste. Local government, no money under PNM policy. That's the difference. You see, all of you are debating against yourselves because local government and performance and allocation is about priority. If you have a prime minister and a cabinet that prioritizes local government, then the cabinet would allocate out of an average budget of $60 billion, they will allocate resources to the corporations because they care about the people. The fact that you are coming here to tell me that we need property tax so that the corporations will get resources is an admission that your priorities are not about the people. So instead of calling political meeting and talking about Piaco Airport, which you're boasting is the best airport in the Caribbean over the last 3 years, talk about why you don't like people, why you're not serving the people, why are you coming to take the people's money rather than allocating resources from the Treasury, from the Consolidated Fund, to the allocation to each and every corporation. But under the United National Congress, when you have a prime minister who cares, you did not see this problem in 2010 to 2015. All corporations, including Diego Martin where I live, which was solidly still PNM, the corporation had some partnership in it, but the MPs were still PNM. There weren't complaints about lack of resourcing and under-resourcing because the Prime Minister's heart was in the people. So therefore, the Minister of Local Government at that time, the Honorable Chandra Sharma, would get resources that he came to the cabinet and argued for. So when you complain and you bring this bill and say that you need the money to tax to get down to the corporations, you must check yourself, because I believe you're on the wrong team. Because you seem to be saying that you want CAMLA, you want the UNC, because you want people to get service. The Honorable Minister of Finance and other ministers, they keep saying, but in the USA and European Union and other countries, people don't mind paying tax, and they pay tax and it works and so on. That's very interesting, you know. But look around, take a deep breath. We not in USA, we not in European Union, we not in Canada, we in Trinidad and Tobago with a PNM government. So people don't want to pay tax because they've seen the wastage, the squandermania, the corruption, the heartlessness, the oppression of this tyrannical PNM. Yes. In fact, we are suffering from brain drain like never before. Every child that goes out to university, whether on scholarship, academic, or sporting, their parents are saying, if you get a job out there, stay out there, marry out there, don't come back here. So don't come to tell me about other people's country. If we were like them, where we could drive without busting tire and busting rim, if we were like them and mosquito wasn't biting we as 6 p.m. reach in Aranguez and St. Joseph, if we were like them and local government was working, we wouldn't mind paying tax. But we have PNM. Then the Honorable Minister boasted that $540 to $2,700 extra a year is fair. The Honorable Minister of Finance said that is a fair tax. Now, how he determined that, I would love to know. Because a fair tax, if you have money, you could say that that might be fair. But when you take away fuel subsidy and you put online 7% tax and people lost their jobs and no increase and you offer them 0.0001011% and inflation is at 45% for food since 2015, and medicine has gone up by 75%. When $100 you go in the grocery and you come out with 2 cricks and a piece of cheese, where the grocery now cutting up cheese and locking it in a cabinet because people stealing cheese. If those are the conditions out there, what you coming to tell me about a fair tax? You done take away the fuel subsidy, so anybody with a car, already 56,000 cars, the smaller cars, the Tida Wetman, the B13, them kind of cars, they're off the road because men have to determine when to use the car, when to use the gas. Should I use it to pick up my wife from work or the children from school? Children, all they take maxi. I had to go for the wife because her shift late. That's how people are operating in this country, and y'all PNM so out of touch. You come to say that $540 to $2,700 extra dollars is fair, and when you have zero, how that could be fair? That means you're going minus $2,700. Y'all are not aware of what is out there. You think the crime is just escalating? What? Because Trinidad and Tobago, we just have a bad gene? The social conditions are horrendous. The gap between the rich and the poor is being exacerbated every day by policies of no care. And you can hear it in that, how could a minister of finance come in the Senate that is beamed live to the country and say 2,700 is fair? If I hand out 2,700, how are we going to pay that? Fair or unfair? It is oppressive. But clearly there's election in the air, because the Honorable Minister of Finance have made a study of him. He's a very good debater. I don't agree with him on many occasions. But this afternoon, he was very humble. He was talking softly. He even wanted to educate the population. When has a PNM government wanted to educate the population? You shut gate down from 726 million down to 300 million. You shut down laptops. You didn't build a school. You have over 40 schools that were between 70% and 85% completed under Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa in September 2015. Now, they're going down minus because people have vandalized and stolen material from the schools. You cut MIC centers, NESC centers. You shut down TTHTI. You cut sports. What education y'all interested in? But the Honorable Minister of Finance, you know when it's election, they has changed the tone. What? They changed from, you haven't rioted yet, to, well, let me come to educate you. And he wanted to give us a history lesson. But I would have preferred to get a history lesson of the PNM's closure of Caroni 1975 Limited and the pain that it gave to families and people who lost those jobs and everything they had. I want to hear a history lesson on why Petrotrin shut down and still shut down. What was the need for that? I want to hear about Caridoc, that it underwater and now 90 people, they always say they're on furlough, but in 80 days you will see that furlough mean you're gone. I want to hear about TTHTI, MIC, NIC centers. I want to hear about all of that. These decisions.
46-1.
Senator, as much as you are responding to, and it is noted that you are responding, please do your very best to tie it into one of the 5 clauses of the bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. But if, Mr. Vice President, if I'm responding to the Honorable Minister of Finance, I hope he was dealing with clauses, because whatever clause he was responding, he was dedicated to, I responded to that. But I will move on. I know it gets a little testy for some members of the government, but the point I'm making is that these decisions, these policy decisions of the PNM, to drop the GDP of this country from a high of $185 billion in 2015 down to $128 billion in 2020, and now you get a 1.5 or 2% increase or growth. When you shrink or you lose 100 pounds in weight, and then you gain 2 pounds, you ain't overweight yet, you still have 98 more to go. So therefore, when you shrink the economy by 30%, and then you tell me it's growing at 2.5%, you come to claim that you have done well. You have not. And what you need to do first and foremost is to return Trinidad and Tobago's economy to at least pre-Rowley levels, pre-Prime Minister and member of Diego Martin levels, into Kamla Prasad Bisesa member for Siparia levels. And then we could discuss other revenue streams. Imagine the PNM is calling a tax a revenue stream. That means you're bereft of ideas. You're bereft of creative ideas. You don't know about diversification. At least 3 different ministers sat here today, stood up here and said that taxing people is a revenue stream. That's what the PNM. But other people who understand how to create jobs, how to encourage foreign direct investment, how to move an economy further, how to move into the technological industry, the fourth estate and so on, as illustrated and enunciated by Kamla Prasad Bisesa, those will be revenue streams, and therefore you don't need to tax people again. You know, I like to eat my beef ribs and things. I take it medium. But I went to a certain restaurant, you know, and I called them and I said, I want it medium, please. I know you all like to overcook it. Because when it comes to meat and thing, you know, in USA they like to do their steak and thing different way. But today we heard about USA. So let me talk about Trinidad and Tobago. And they burn up the meat, but I didn't check it because it was a pickup. So I took it home. And then when I reach home and I see it well done, I don't pay for it. So I left it like that. I ate it as best as I could. And I had to take that cost as a sunk cost. But I chose now to never go back there. Because I don't ask you all, I tell you all what I want and you didn't give me it. So I say, I'm not going back there. Now, let me ask you it this way. If you go to a restaurant and you get food poisoning of the worst kind that debilitates you for about 2 days, you can't eat, you spend all the time in the WC, would you go back to that restaurant ever again? I think not. So when you have a PNM government who has shown that they are callous, that they are about recusals in the cabinet, about the rich getting richer and sprinkling crumbs for the lower middle class to pick up and hopefully say, great is the PNM. The country will not go back there. The PNM has been unmasked, and today is the worst example of an oppressive, heartless government coming without ideas to dip in the pockets of people who are suffering from their decision making and lack thereof. The timing. I heard some of the government members talking that the people that if not now, when? Well, let me tell you, if not now, when? Definitely not now, because you have turned this economy, you have shrunk it, you have shredded it. Over 123,000 people have come off the NIB list. The energy sector is waning. No foreign direct investment. People's money purchasing power parity is down. Inflation is up. Unemployment is at its highest. So therefore, not at this time. If you ask me when, well, the answer will be when you come out and the UNC come in and we create diversification in the economy, we create 50,000 jobs, we improve the energy sector, bring back the refinery, create different revenue streams, make people safe again, understand that investment in our population is important. At that time, when people could depend on a government that will service them properly, that will be the time. So your answer is not now, because you're all still in government. So call the election. And if you don't want local, call the general election, because some of you all sound very arrogant here today. But UNC will never reach back and they will never win. Well, okay. If you all are truthful, call it. Don't just give me gun talk. Call the election. When we talk about consistency, right? We have to talk about consistency throughout this debate. Things that are consistent are brilliant, and people don't mind paying. So in the USA, European Union, Canada, Norway, people don't mind paying taxes, property taxes, other taxes, because the bus runs on time. The roads are smooth. They get water and they tap hot water and so on, the heating, the gas don't go off, electricity don't go, and so on. So the government performs, so people have no problem paying higher levels of taxes because of the consistency of service that they get. You will want to buy Royal Castle because the pepper is the best, and every time you buy Royal Castle, it's the same pepper. It tastes exactly the same. I eaten by my doubles man 34 years. Why? Because every morning you go there, it is consistently delectable, delicious, and perfect. Bara melting in your mouth, right? So therefore, to come here when your performance as central government and local government is woeful at best, it is consistently poor. To ask people to pay for poor service is wrong. When you talk about this property tax, I heard someone laugh when my colleague Senator Lyda said, what about the evaluation? Why are we talking estimates? So are you all to believe, or would you like us to believe, that in this country, where there's an adversarial climate. You have PNM and you have UNC. That a PNM government appointing PNM people to come in everybody's house. When you have videos of PNM CPEP crews cutting grass by PNM house, and when it have a UNC activist, it's bush for days, and then on the other side, it cut clean. In a country where PNM operates like that, how can we in the United National Congress and other citizens feel safe that the estimates of PNM appointed people, appointed by the PNM cabinet, appointed by the PNM Minister of Finance, appointed by the PNM Minister of Local Government, appointed by the PNM if it's Revenue Authority or BIR, will give everyone a fair shake? If they come by me, you feel I will get a nice even estimate and fair? I think not. I mean, I fight in war since 1979. But for citizens out there, this is not right. A tax must not only be fair, it must appear to be fair. And then people will consider it at the right time when they're getting service, when they can expect that when they pay more, they will get a better service. But under this PNM, service is a misnomer. But somehow, the math's not mathsing. Because since this property tax discussion way back with the Honorable Patrick Manning, member for San Fernando East, back in 2008, 2009, I read estimates, and I see that he almost came back in a meeting in Malabar last night with the Honorable Minister of Youth and things, nearly introducing Patrick Manning as the Prime Minister. A Freudian slip, but you could see that they're hoping and they're wishing for that. Yes, because they're trying to go back in time because it's not the right time. They know even the PNM is not enjoying this time. They want to go back to better times. But I remember reading in the estimates in 2010 and so on that the total take for residential would be 175 million. And even back then I said, but what is this? Out of a 54 billion budget, 60 billion budget, what do you want to humbug people for $175 million for? And then we say now, and even in this debate here, 15 years later, I'm hearing estimates that some corporations will get 67 million and so on overall from residential, maybe 400 million. And I'm saying to myself, but there are other ways to generate much larger sums of money. So what is really behind this? And you know, it's sad to say, but we on this side don't trust all you. When Kamala Prasad Bisesa in 2019 told the Honorable Attorney General back then, when they brought a bill downstairs about local government and not using it to extend and deny the rights of people to vote, he said poppycock. But now we see that poppycock is real. So therefore we don't trust y'all. So when y'all come to say, you know, this is land and building tax, and I say, but I'm trying to understand, what is the quantum? If you focus and bring back the refinery, you could make 50 times that in a year. If you energize, if you negotiate with the upstreamers and so on and find gas on blocks, you could get more revenue. What is the PNM? And some of my colleagues here will have no idea what I am talking about, because they wouldn't understand that in the PNM, the great Dr. Eric Williams once said you could put a crapo in a PNM tie and they will win. People thought that meant that the brand of PNM was so strong and so on and they must win. The truth of that was, what he meant was, the MPs don't determine policy. That the men behind the stage who's sitting down there, who don't come for nobody to vote, they are the ones running the country. That's what he meant. So these colleagues here will not know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I'm linking it to clause 5, yes.
Exactly.
And what I'm saying right here, sir, is that when I think about this, I remember a period in Port of Spain, Diego Martin area, in the 90s, when certain people who became prominent in the PNM and took control of the Port of Spain Corporation and went in there as normal people every day, came out as 100 millionaires.
What?
Because
that happened?
Because what happened back then with land and building taxes. People who were unable or did not pay, whether elderly, whether they forgot and so on. What would happen is a clause will come in that the government, the corporation, could then put their properties up for sale and auction. And these properties from Port of Spain down to Caranage, certain people bought up all of these properties and they are billionaires now. So I'm asking now, here in the Senate, is this why this property tax is coming? So that poor little old ladies and people all over Trinidad and Tobago who may not be able to pay or may not be able to do it, after a certain period, it allows the powers that be to auction their house off, and those with money and capital could buy up properties at a very cheap rate. Is that what the PNM wants? Because this cannot be revenue generation. This cannot be about local government. This cannot be about policy. This cannot be about box trade. This cannot be about pothole ranging. This is from behind the stage, behind the balisé when they're talking about. This is something nefarious to make the rich get richer and the poor stay poorer. I want some PNM to answer, but not y'all. Somebody who's behind the stage, not y'all in front of the stage. Now, finally, Mr. President, the PNM is too costly to citizens. Face it. That's why you're afraid for election. That's why you have to go to Privy Council to try and fight. That's why you can't call the election date yet. That's why you're trying to stretch it to 90 days. That's why. Because you're too costly, because the people have to pay. For you to be there rather than Kamla and the UNC, they have to pay for the removal of the subsidy. VAT, Kamla had VAT on 77,000 items. You put it back. 7% online tax, you tax. Unavailable Forex, people buying foreign exchange out there for $10 a US now. Cutting gate, the children cannot go to school. Cutting food cards, 42,000 down to 18,000.
46-1, please, on a point of order.
One has been raised. I ask you to proceed in your wind-up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All clap the President, Vice President. We talk, Mr. Vice President, we're talking about tax. And I am showing that the PNM, you would not need to oppress the people with tax if you left Kamla policies there, because the people you have taken from them, you've taken the subsidy, you have taken gate from 726 million down to 300 million, you have taken regular fuel from the fisherman, so fish prices gone up, inflation is eating away at people money. People have no money, they have to buy books, you take away textbooks, you take away laptops. Where you want these people to get this money to pay your oppressive property tax when you have suffered the people for so long? I say scrap the tax, forget it. So, Mr. Vice President, and I can show you that not only by your example and another example in this very house, that even in an adversarial political situation where there is red and yellow, there's PNM policy of the elite and there's a UNC policy of support for the poor, that even in that situation, with good people sitting at the head, debate, righteousness can proceed without interruption because of fairness, equity, and class. So on your part and on the part of the President, I thank you very much, sir.
Senator Thompson, aye.
Mr. President, I thank you for recognizing me. As I rise to speak on this topic, which relates to property tax, I well remember the last time I expressed certain views, I was crucified by social media, and it wasn't even Lent. But before Lent comes Carnival,